A crowded diner. An arrogant waiter mocks a boy for his small order. People laugh, unaware of the sacrifice about to unfold. But the boy's quiet dignity sets the stage for something no one in that room will ever forget. You can't even afford fries? What are you doing here, kid? The sneer cut through the chatter of the diner. Forks paused. Cups stopped mid-air. Heads turned toward the corner booth where a skinny black boy sat, his hands folded tightly around the edges of a plastic menu. His clothes were clean but old, shoes scuffed, and his eyes large, steady, and Cal met the waiter's glare without blinking. A group of men at the counter chuckled. One muttered, "What's next? Begging for ketchup?" The laughter spread like grease fire. The boy didn't flinch. His voice was soft but steady. "I'll just have a soup, please." The waiter scoffed loudly, making sure everyone could hear. "Soup? That's it? Guess we'll have to watch you lick the bowl clean." He scribbled lazily on his pad and walked off. Shoulders rolling with arrogance, the diner buzzed again. But the boy's calm presence stood out in the noise. Across from him, an elderly couple struggled with their menu. Their hands trembled with age, and their wrinkled faces carried the weight of exhaustion. The old man rubbed his chest discreetly, as though hiding pain. His wife leaned closer, whispering something he quickly brushed away with a tired smile. The boy watched. His soup arrived, steaming in a chipped bowl, set down with a clatter that sloshed broth onto the table. The waiter didn't bother with a spoon. He just smirked and walked off. The boy reached for the bowl, but stopped. His eyes drifted again to the couple. They had ordered nothing yet. The old man's wallet lay on the table, thin and nearly empty. His wife patted his arm, whispering, "It's all right, dear. Maybe we'll just share coffee today." The boy's heart tightened. He pushed the bowl away from himself. For a moment he hesitated, then stood, lifting the soup carefully with both hands. Every eye in the diner followed him. He placed the bowl in front of the old couple. His voice was calm, almost too calm for a child. "Please. You should have this." The old woman blinked, stunned. "But this is yours." The boy shook his head. "I'm not hungry." "You need it more." Gasps rippled through the room. The men at the counter shifted uncomfortably, their earlier laughter caught in their throats. Even the waiter froze mid-step, tray balanced on one hand. The old man's lip trembled as he stared at the boy. "Son, we can't take." But the boy gently slid the bowl closer. "Please, it's okay." The silence was heavy, broken only by the faint clink of the spoon against ceramic as the woman finally accepted the gift. Her hands trembled as she pulled the soup toward her husband. Tears welled in her eyes. At the counter, one of the men muttered, "Kid gave up his meal." Another shifted in his stool, guilt darkening his face. The arrogance that filled the diner minutes ago seemed to drain away, replaced by something else, uneasy respect, quiet shame. But the waiter? He barked a laugh, desperate to reclaim control. "Oh, please. What, you think that makes you a hero? It's just soup." His words rang hollow. No one laughed this time. Not a single smirk. The boy stood tall, his small frame straight, his voice calm. "It's not about the soup. It's about kindness." The room stilled again. People looked down at their plates. Some avoided his gaze. Others stared, their eyes burning with something they couldn't name: remorse, admiration, maybe both. The old couple ate slowly, each spoonful heavy with gratitude. The boy quietly returned to his booth, hands folded again on the empty table. No bitterness. No regret. Just dignity. The waiter clenched his jaw, his arrogance flickering like a flame in the wind. But deep inside he felt the sting of being outshone, not by wealth, not by power, but by a boy with nothing in front of him but an empty plate, and that empty plate drew every eye in the diner back to him. It wasn't just empty. It was heavy. Heavy with meaning. The door jingled as another customer entered, but the room's focus never shifted. Conversations were hushed, broken sentences drowned by the weight of the boy's quiet sacrifice. He sat still, back straight, eyes steady, as though he carried the dignity of someone far older. The old woman dabbed her eyes with a napkin, whispering to her husband, "Angels come in many forms." The boy didn't hear her. He just stared at his hands, calm, patient, waiting for nothing at all. The waiter slammed the tray down harder than he meant to. His arrogance was cracking, but not enough to break yet. The boy looked up at the window, the neon light reflecting faintly in his eyes. Something was coming. Something no one in that diner could imagine. The boy's stomach growled quietly into the silence just as the door burst open again, and a man in a tailored suit stepped in, scanning the room like he was searching for someone. The bell above the diner door jingled again, sharp against the hushed silence. A tall man stepped in, his polished shoes clicking against the tile floor. His suit was deep navy, perfectly tailored, catching the neon light outside like glass on water. A heavy gold watch gleamed on his wrist, and every movement of his carried the weight of someone used to commanding a room. Conversations died instantly. Forks froze mid-air. Even the sizzling from the kitchen seemed to fade. The stranger's presence was magnetic, pulling every glance his way. The waiter straightened immediately, puffing his chest, his earlier arrogance morphing into a clumsy performance of charm. He smoothed his apron and rushed forward, voice dripping with fake respect. "Good evening, sir. Best seat in the house, right this way. Can I take your coat?" But the man didn't even look at him. His eyes were scanning the diner with precision, searching. Not the booths full of laughing men. Not the women with their steaming cups of coffee. Not the old couple quietly sharing the soup. His gaze locked on the boy. The boy sat still in his booth, hands folded, his table bare except for the wet ring left by the soup bowl. His clothes looked even smaller, older, beneath the shine of that gaze. Yet he didn't shrink. He didn't look away. The man's lips pressed together, unreadable. Then, slowly, he started walking. Click, click. Each step echoed, louder than it should have in the small diner. The waiter hurried beside him, babbling. "Sir, our steaks are fresh, our coffee is strong and quiet." One word, firm, final. The waiter froze mid-step, mouth still open. The stranger reached the boy's booth. For a moment, the world seemed to hold still. The men at the counter leaned forward, curiosity buzzing between them. The old woman's spoon trembled as she set it down. Even the cook in the back peered out from the kitchen window, grease-smeared apron hanging loose. The man spoke, his voice low but powerful. "Was it you?" The boy tilted his head slightly. "Me?" The man's eyes flicked toward the elderly couple, then back to the boy. "You gave them your meal." The boy didn't answer right away. His calm silence was louder than words. Finally, he nodded once. "Yes." The stranger's jaw clenched. Not in anger, but in something deeper. Something heavy. He pulled out the opposite chair and sat, his expensive suit folding neatly around him. The boy blinked in surprise, but said nothing. The waiter sputtered, desperate to reassert himself. "Sir, really, you don't want to sit there." "I can prepare a table in the front," I said quiet. This time, the words cut sharper, and the waiter stumbled back, face flushed. The counterman snickered at his embarrassment, though none dared laugh too loudly. The stranger leaned forward, elbows on the table. His eyes never left the boy's. "Why did you do it?" The boy's voice was steady, calm as before. "Because they were hungry. That's all?" The boy's hands tightened slightly on the table. "That's enough." A silence followed, thick and weighted. The man studied him, eyes narrowing slightly, as though measuring something invisible. Finally, the man leaned back, exhaling slowly. "What's your name, son?" The boy hesitated. His lips parted, but before he could speak, the waiter burst in again, waving his order pad. "Sir, please, at least let me bring you a menu." "He doesn't belong here. He's wasting your time." The words dropped like lead. The entire diner stiffened. The old woman gasped softly. Even the men at the counter grimaced. The boy's face remained calm. Not a flicker of anger. Not even hurt. He simply turned his head toward the waiter, his eyes steady. "I belong anywhere kindness belongs." The room stilled again. The words struck harder than a shout. The waiter's smirk faltered. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. The man in the suit finally turned, his gaze cold as steel. "You should be ashamed." The waiter blinked, thrown off balance. "Sir, But the stranger had already dismissed him, turning back to the boy. His eyes softened, just slightly. "Tomorrow," he said, voice calm but firm. "I'll be at your door." The boy frowned faintly, confused. "My door?" The man nodded once. "Yes, be ready." And with that, he rose, buttoning his jacket smoothly. He gave the boy one last long look before heading to the door. The bell jingled as he left. But the echo of his words lingered, heavy in the silence he left behind. The boy sat still, his face unreadable, but his fingers drummed lightly against the table. The old couple watched him, eyes wide with wonder. The waiter stood frozen, pale, and sweating. The entire diner buzzed with unspoken questions. Who was that man? What did he mean? And why was tomorrow so important? The boy finally whispered to himself, almost too quietly to hear. "How does he know where I live?" The diner's neon lights flickered against the dark street, casting long reflections across the wet pavement. Inside, the night was winding down. Plates clattered in the sink. The smell of burnt coffee lingered, but the buzz of what had just happened refused to fade. At the counter, the men who had laughed at the boy earlier now muttered to each other in low voices. Who was that guy? Never seen him here before. Looked important, rich. Their words swirled, heavy with curiosity. But no one dared ask the boy directly. The old woman dabbed her lips with a napkin, then stood and shuffled toward the boy's booth, her husband leaning on her arm. She looked at him with wet eyes. "Son, we can never repay you." The boy shook his head softly. "You don't need to." Her hand trembled as she reached out, brushing his shoulder. "People like you're rare." The boy's calm gaze didn't waver. "People like me are everywhere. You just have to look." The old man's voice cracked. "You remind me of my grandson. He was a good man too." His grip tightened briefly on the boy's arm before they turned and left, the bell jingling weakly behind them. The diner grew quieter. One by one, the customers left, the men at the counter slipping out without finishing their coffee. Soon only the boy remained, sitting before his empty plate. The waiter slammed a tray onto the counter, his jaw tight, his pride bruised raw. He muttered to the cook, loud enough for the boy to hear. "Some kid thinks he's a saint, making me look bad in front of a paying customer." The cook didn't answer. He just shook his head, wiping his hands on his apron. The waiter's glare darted to the boy, burning with resentment. But the boy didn't notice, or at least, he didn't let it show. His face remained calm, his posture straight. Finally, the boy slid out of the booth. He placed 2 crumpled dollar bills on the table, his last money, and walked out into the night. The streets were quiet, lined with dim street lamps that flickered like dying candles. His shoes scuffed against cracked pavement, each step slow but steady. The city was loud during the day, but at night it seemed to hold its breath. He passed shuttered shops, stray cats darting between trash bins, and the faint echo of sirens in the distance. He carried no bag, no food, no warmth, just the weight of the night pressing in. Finally, he reached a small house at the edge of the block. The paint was peeling, the porch light broken, but it was home. He slipped inside quietly, shutting the door behind him. The house was silent. Too silent. He placed his shoes neatly by the door, then sat on the worn couch. His stomach growled again, louder now, echoing in the emptiness. He closed his eyes, breathing slowly, as though silence itself could feed him. In the corner of the room, a faded photo sat on a crooked shelf, a smiling woman with kind eyes, holding the boy as a toddler. He glanced at it, his calm face softening for just a moment. Then he leaned back and let the darkness wrap around him. Time passed. Minutes stretched into hours. The boy drifted into a light, uneasy sleep. Then knocked. The sound jolted him upright. His heart skipped. He blinked into the dark, unsure if he had dreamed it. Knock, knock. This time, louder. The boy's breath caught. No one ever came here. No one ever knocked. He stood slowly, every movement cautious. His bare feet padded against the cold floor as he approached the door. The shadows of the streetlight cut across the window, long and sharp. His hand reached the doorknob. He hesitated, listening. The silence outside was heavier than before. Pressing against the walls. Knock. Three sharp raps, urgent, impatient. The boy gripped the knob tighter. His pulse quickened. The stranger's words from earlier replayed in his mind. Tomorrow I'll be at your door. But it wasn't tomorrow yet. It was still tonight. He swallowed hard, turned the knob, and slowly pulled the door open. The cold air rushed in, biting against his skin. He squinted into the dark. A figure stood there, shadowed under the weak glow of the street lamp. Not the tall man in the suit, someone else. The boy's lips parted slightly. You? The figure stepped closer, face still hidden in shadow. Before the boy could speak again, the figure whispered his name. The night air clung heavy as the door creaked wider. The boy's eyes adjusted slowly to the dim streetlight, and the figure's face emerged from the shadows. It was the cook from the diner. His stained apron was gone, replaced with a worn jacket, but the tired lines on his face were unmistakable. "Don't be afraid," the man whispered. His voice, rough from years of smoke and steam, carried a strange urgency. "I had to come." The boy frowned, his calm gaze steady. "Why?" The cook glanced over his shoulder, scanning the empty street. "Because you need to know something." "About that man?" "The one in the suit." The boy's heartbeat quickened, though his expression stayed even. He stepped back, letting the cook inside. The door shut softly behind them. Inside, the room was dim, lit only by the faint glow of a street lamp slipping through the cracked curtains. The cook stayed near the door, as though ready to run if needed. "You think he's some rich stranger who just happened to notice you," the cook said, lowering his voice. "But men like him, they don't just notice. They look for something." The boy tilted his head. "Something like what?" The cook hesitated. His hands twitched as if wrestling with words. Finally, he muttered, "Kindness, strength, the kind that scares people who've built their lives on cruelty." The boy didn't respond right away. His calm eyes studied the man, waiting. The cook sighed. "I've seen him before. Years back. He came into another diner I worked at. Same suit, same stare. There was a girl young, no older than you, who gave up her own coat to a homeless veteran outside. And the next day—" He trailed off, shaking his head. "What happened?" The boy asked softly. The cook's jaw tightened. "No one saw her again. Not at the diner. Not in the neighborhood. Gone." The boy's fingers tightened slightly against his side. His face remained composed, but a quiet storm stirred behind his eyes. The cook stepped closer, his voice low. "I don't know if he helps. Or if he takes. All I know is, when he shows up, lives change. Sometimes for the better. Sometimes—" He let the silence finish the sentence. The boy finally spoke. "Why warn me?" The cook's eyes softened. "Because when you slid that soup across the table tonight, I saw my own son in you. And I couldn't live with myself if I didn't say something." The boy nodded once, his calm face unshaken. "Thank you." The cook exhaled, relief mixed with unease. "Be careful, son. Tomorrow might not be what you think." He pulled the door open again, peering into the night before slipping out. The boy stood in the silence that followed, the faint echo of the man's words heavy in the air. He walked slowly to the couch and sat down, staring at the faded photograph of his mother on the shelf. His voice, a whisper meant only for the walls, slipped out, "Change isn't always bad." The hours dragged until dawn. The boy dozed lightly, but each creak of the house jolted him awake. Outside, the world shifted from black to gray, then to the faint blush of morning. His stomach ached with hunger, sharper now, but he ignored it. He dressed quietly, pulling on his worn shoes. Then knock. This time, steady, firm, 3 precise raps that rattled the door in its frame. The boy's breath caught. He knew the sound. It was different, intentional. The Millionaire. He stood, calm as ever, though his chest tightened with the weight of the moment. He reached for the knob. Behind him, the photograph caught the morning light, the face of his mother glowing faintly as though watching. His hand rested on the knob. His voice whispered into the silence. "This is it." The boy pulled the door open, and the man in the suit stood there, smiling faintly, holding a sealed envelope with the boy's name written on it. The morning light spilled across the cracked porch as the boy stared at the man in the navy suit. The stranger stood tall, his polished shoes gleaming, his watch catching the sun. His smile was faint, too faint to read. In his hand, an envelope, cream-colored, sealed with thick wax. The boy's name was written across the front in bold, elegant strokes. "Good morning," the man said, his voice calm, deliberate. The boy's eyes lowered to the envelope, then back to the man. "Why?" The man's faint smile deepened slightly. "Open it." For a moment, the boy hesitated. His fingers twitched at his side. Then slowly, he reached forward and took the envelope. The paper was heavy, expensive, far unlike anything that had ever passed through his hands. The man stepped back, giving him space. "Go on." The boy broke the wax seal with care and slid the folded paper free. His eyes scanned the first line, then widened, just slightly. It was a check. The numbers sprawled across it were unreal. More money than he could imagine. Enough to fill his empty fridge. Enough to pay for clothes, school, maybe even more. The boy's lips parted. His calm face flickered with something new, shock. He looked up, meeting the man's steady gaze. "Why are you giving me this?" The man's voice carried the same weight it had in the diner. "Because you gave away the little you had. Now I give you what I have." The boy stared at him, the silence heavy. "That doesn't make sense." "It will," the man replied. His tone was sharp, but not unkind. "This world doesn't reward kindness. It punishes it. I'm here to change that." The boy's brows knit faintly. "Why me?" The man studied him, his jaw tightening. "Because you didn't ask for anything in return. And because dignity is the rarest thing I've ever seen." The boy lowered his gaze to the check again. His fingers tightened on the paper. His stomach growled softly in the silence, but he ignored it. The man leaned closer. "This isn't charity. It's an investment." The boy looked back up, calm but questioning. "In what?" "In you," the man said simply. The words hit harder than the number written on the check. The boy stood frozen, unsure whether to feel grateful or wary. The cook's warning from the night before echoed in his head. Sometimes lives change for the better. Sometimes. The man straightened, buttoning his jacket. "There will be more. But first, you'll need to decide what kind of man you want to be. Money is power. Power reveals character. Show me yours." The boy's expression stayed calm, but his voice carried weight. "And if I don't want your money?" For the first time, the man's smile faded. His eyes darkened, sharp as steel. "Then you'll waste what others can only dream of." The tension crackled between them like static. The boy held the man's gaze, unflinching. "Maybe dreams aren't bought." The man's lips curved again, faintly this time, almost amused. "You'll understand soon enough." He turned, stepping off the porch. His footsteps echoed against the pavement, measured and unhurried. He didn't look back. The boy stood in the doorway, the check still in his hand, heavy as stone. His eyes drifted to the photograph of his mother inside. Her smile seemed softer in the morning light, almost alive. He whispered, almost to her, "What do I do?" No answer came. Only silence. Only the weight of a decision larger than himself. He folded the check carefully, slipping it back into the envelope. His stomach growled again, loud in the quiet house. Hunger clawed at him, but his face remained calm. Steady, unreadable. Outside, the street hummed faintly with life, neighbors leaving for work, cars rolling past, birds calling out. But to the boy, the world felt smaller, sharper, changed. The cook's words returned, like an echo carved into his mind. When he shows up, lives change. The boy closed the door slowly, the envelope clutched in his hand. The lock clicked, sealing the silence around him again. He turned toward the couch and froze. The envelope was no longer sealed. Inside, tucked behind the check, was another folded paper, with an address written on it. The house was quiet. The only sound was the creak of old wood and the soft whistle of wind sneaking through broken window frames. The boy lay curled up on his thin mattress, still hungry but too exhausted to move. His mother sat by a flickering candle, stitching the same torn dress she had mended 100 times before. Then knock, knock. The sound was sharp, urgent, cutting through the silence like a warning. His mother froze. The needle slipped from her hand. Who could that be?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The boy pushed himself up. His little sister stirred beside him, clutching a ragged teddy bear. Fear thickened the air. Late-night knocks rarely brought good news in their neighborhood. Another knock followed, louder this time. "Open up." A deep voice called. The boy's heart raced. His mind leapt back to the cafeteria, to the laughter, the humiliation. Had the man come back for revenge? Or worse, was it trouble from the landlord again? His mother gathered her courage. With slow, cautious steps, she moved toward the door. The candlelight trembled with her hand. She hesitated, then pulled it open. Rain poured outside, drenching the night in silver sheets. A tall figure stood on the porch, coat soaked, hat dripping. For a moment his face was hidden in shadow. The boy swallowed hard. The man stepped forward, and the candlelight revealed him, the same arrogant man from the cafeteria. But something was different. His sharp expression was gone. His eyes looked restless, almost human. The mother stiffened. "What do you want at this hour?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he held out a leather envelope, thick and heavy. Rainwater slid down its edges. "This is for your son," the man said, his voice low. The boy blinked, confused. "For me?" The man nodded. "Take it. It belongs to you now." The mother frowned. "We don't need your pity." "It's not pity," the man replied, firm but strangely calm. "It's respect. Something I should have shown earlier." The boy slowly stepped forward. His small hands trembled as he reached out. The envelope was warm, almost humming with weight. Inside, paper rustled, documents, receipts, and something else. Thicker. The boy glanced up. "What's in here?" The man's eyes darkened, guilt flickering across his face. "Answers. And a chance your family deserves." Before anyone could ask more, he turned and walked into the storm. His figure swallowed by the rain. The boy clutched the envelope to his chest. Unsure whether it was a gift, a burden, or a trap, the candle sputtered. Shadows danced on the walls. His mother whispered, "Don't open it yet. Wait until morning." But the boy couldn't sleep. He stared at the envelope on the table, the mystery inside pulling him deeper into questions. Why him? Why now? The rain hammered harder, as though the night itself was warning them. And then the boy noticed it. A small symbol on the envelope's corner. Golden, embossed, shining faintly in the candlelight. It wasn't just any mark. It was the emblem of a company so powerful, everyone in town knew its name. His eyes widened. His heart thud. The boy whispered, "Why would a millionaire leave this with me?" The envelope holds a secret tied to wealth and power, but opening it might shatter everything the boy thought he knew. The storm had passed. Golden sunlight broke through the cracked window, scattering across the small room. The boy hadn't slept. His eyes were red, fixed on the envelope sitting in the middle of the table like a silent intruder. His mother stirred awake, her hand still resting on the stitching she never finished. She followed his gaze and sighed. "You didn't close your eyes once, did you?" The boy shook his head slowly. "What if it's bad news? What if he's trying to trick us?" Her jaw tightened. "That man? Men like him don't come to our door for kindness." But curiosity was stronger than fear. His little sister crawled onto the table, eyes wide, teddy bear dangling from her hand. "Open it, brother. Maybe it's candy." The boy gave a sad smile. "I don't think it's candy." With trembling fingers, he slid the string loose. The flap lifted. Silence thickened the air. Out slid a thick bundle of crisp papers, bound together with a gold clip. Alongside them, a heavy key landed with a metallic clink on the wooden table. Everyone froze. The boy's mother leaned forward. Her voice shook. "What is this?" He unfolded the first page. The letters were too big for him to understand. But certain words leapt outwards even a child couldn't mistake. Deed of property. Transfer of ownership. Beneficiary. Boy's full name. His throat went dry. "Mama, it says my name." She snatched the papers, scanning them in disbelief. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The more she read, the paler she grew. The boy touched the key. It was heavy, iron, engraved with the same golden emblem from the envelope. Is this real?" he whispered. His mother's voice cracked. "It looks real. Too real. But why would he?" Before she could finish, his sister gasped. Another folded note had slipped out of the bundle. The boy grabbed it. The handwriting was sharp, rushed, almost angry. "This house is no charity. It's a debt I can never repay. What your son showed me cannot be bought. I only hope this is a beginning. J. Turner." The name sent a chill through the room. J. Turner. The man wasn't just wealthy. He was the Turner owner of half the factories in the city, the man people whispered about but never met. The boy's mother clutched the table. No, this can't be right. "Why us? Why you?" The boy's eyes brimmed with tears, though he didn't fully understand. He only knew one thing: something had shifted. Something bigger than food. Bigger than one act in a cafeteria. But with the weight of the key in his palm came a new fear. If J. Turner had enemies, and a man with his power always did, what would they do when they found out a poor boy now carried something that belonged to him? The boy looked at the door. The morning felt too quiet, the silence almost dangerous. For the first time, he whispered what everyone was thinking but afraid to say, "Mama, what if this gift is a trap? The boy now holds property papers and a key from one of the city's most powerful men, but instead of safety, danger may be closing in." The morning should have been ordinary. Children kicked stones down the street. Vendors shouted over piles of bruised fruit. And neighbors traded gossip while hanging laundry. But today, all eyes turned toward the boy's small, broken home. It started with a single voice. "I saw a man in a black car last night," muttered an old woman to her friend. "Stopped right in front of their house. Looked important." By noon, the story had twisted. "They say it was a millionaire," a shopkeeper told a customer, lowering his voice. Handed them papers. Something big. Something worth money. By evening, the whispers had sharpened into blades. "Did you hear? That poor boy's family is sitting on land now. A house, maybe more. They don't belong here anymore." The boy felt the stairs. Every step outside was heavier than the last. He tried to carry water from the well, but people's eyes followed him, scanning, judging. Some faces looked curious. Others burned with envy. When he returned home, his mother was pacing. "It's spreading," she said, her voice low. "Everyone knows. We can't keep it quiet anymore." His little sister tugged at her dress. "Mama, why are people whispering? Did we do something wrong?" Her mother knelt, holding her close. "No, maybe. We didn't, but sometimes, when life finally gives you something good, people don't like it." The boy set down the bucket, his small frame shaking with worry. "Mama, what if they tried to take it away?" She didn't answer. Her silence was louder than words. That night, the boy sat by the window. The key lay on the table, gleaming in the candlelight. Every creak outside, every shadow moving past their door made his chest tighten. Then came the knock. Soft, hesitant, different from Turner's stormy visit. The boy froze. His mother tensed. Slowly, she opened the door. A neighbor stood there, Mr. Allen, the grocer. His smile was wide, too wide, like it was hiding something sharp. "Evening," he said warmly, but his eyes darted past her, scanning the inside of the house. "Heard some good news came your way. A real blessing, huh?" His mother's lips tightened. "We don't know what you've heard." Allen chuckled. "Oh, don't be modest. Word spreads fast. Folks say Turner himself came knocking. That he gave your boy a house. Must feel nice." The boy stepped back, clutching the key behind him. He didn't like the way Allen's eyes glinted, like a crow spotting something shiny. "Well," Allen said, lowering his voice, "Be careful, ma'am. Not everyone's happy for you. Some might want what's not theirs." And just like that, he turned and walked into the night, the door shut. Silence filled the room. The boy's mother locked it twice this time. The boy whispered, "Mama, maybe this gift wasn't meant for us." She knelt, cupping his face, her eyes firm even though her voice shook. "No, son. It came to us for a reason. But from now on, we must be stronger. Much stronger." Outside, the whispers grew louder, crawling through the streets like wildfire. Gift had turned into a target. The family now faces suspicion and envy from their neighbors, and the boy realizes Turner's gift may have placed them in more danger than poverty ever did. The street outside was alive with whispers. Some were quiet, curious. Others sharp, accusing. The boy could hear them through the thin walls. "That family doesn't belong here anymore. Who gives a poor boy a house? What did they do to deserve it? Turner doesn't do anything for free. Something's off." The boy sat at the table, his fingers tracing the heavy iron key. His little sister leaned against him, clutching her teddy bear. Too young to understand why everyone's stares suddenly felt like knives, his mother paced. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with determination. "They're circling us," she muttered. "Jealousy, suspicion, fear. That's what money does. It shines a light, and not everyone wants you to stand in it." The boy swallowed hard. "Mama, maybe we should give it back." Her step stopped cold. She turned, staring at him. "Son, do you know how many nights I've prayed for something like this? A chance. Just one chance. No. We won't throw it away. But we will be careful." Before he could answer, there was a sound outside. Not whispers. Not footsteps. Something heavier. Tires crunching on gravel. The boy's breath caught. He peeked out the broken window. A long black car, sleek, polished, out of place on their street, pulled to a slow stop in front of the house. Its headlights glared through the dust. The neighborhood fell silent. People peered from doorways and windows, whispering Turner's name like it was a ghost returned. The back door opened. A tall figure stepped out, coat pressed, hat tilted low. Even from a distance, the boy recognized him. Turner. The air thickened. Mothers pulled their children inside. Men folded their arms, suspicious. The entire block seemed to hold its breath. Turner walked with purpose, his shoes clicking against the wet ground from last night's storm. He stopped at the boy's door and knocked once firm, commanding. The boy's mother froze. Her hands shook, but she forced them still and opened the door. Turner removed his hat. His face was calmer than before, but his eyes, dark, restless, gave him away. "May I come in?" he asked softly. The mother hesitated. Neighbors leaned closer, straining to hear. She stepped aside. "You've already crossed our doorstep once. Might as well do it again." Inside, Turner's presence filled the small room. He glanced at the candle on the table, the patched clothes hanging by the wall, the children's wide, anxious eyes. Then his gaze dropped to the envelope and the key. "You opened it," he said quietly. The boy nodded, clutching the key tighter. Turner pulled out a chair, sat, and leaned forward. His voice was low, but every word carried weight. "You don't understand what that means yet. But you will." His mother folded her arms. "Then explain." "Why us? Why my boy? What do you really want?" The boy looked at Turner, his heart pounding. "Was it just charity?" Turner's jaw tightened. He shook his head slowly. "No, it wasn't charity. It was guilt." The word dropped like a stone in water. The boy blinked. "Guilt? For what?" Turner took a long breath. His hands, usually steady, trembled slightly as he placed them on the table. "I built my fortune on men and women who looked just like you. Your father, your grandfather, maybe even your mother's hands were part of it. Hard work, long hours. Number. Thanks. Just sweat poured into my factories while I sat above it all. I took everything. Gave nothing." The mother's lips pressed thin. "And now you think one piece of property makes it right?" "No," Turner admitted, his voice breaking for the first time. It doesn't. It never will. But when I saw your boy in that cafeteria, giving up his meal without hesitation, it hit me. He had more honor in that moment than I've had in my entire life. Silence fell. The boy's chest tightened, his face hot. He remembered the cafeteria, the laughter, the humiliation, but he had never thought anyone important had truly seen him. Turner leaned closer, his voice raw. That house isn't a gift. It's a transfer. A step toward repayment. Not enough, but a start. And whether you accept it or not, it's already yours. The mother's eyes softened, though her guard remained. And what happens now? You think the world will just smile and clap because Turner gave something away? No, they'll turn on us. They already have. Turner's gaze darkened. He glanced toward the window, where silhouettes of neighbors lingered, listening. Yes, people will whisper. Some will hate. That's what happens when the powerful do something unexpected. It shakes the ground. But that's not your burden. It's mine. The boy finally found his voice. Then why give it to us at all, if it only makes us targets? Turner studied him, his eyes sharp but filled with something new: respect. Because strength isn't born in comfort. It's born in fire. I saw it in you that day. Calm, dignified, unshaken. That's what the world needs to see now, not me. Not Turner the millionaire, but you. The boy's throat tightened. He didn't feel strong. He felt small, scared. But Turner's words wrapped around him like armor. Outside, a stone clattered against the wall. Someone hissed, "Blood money." Another voice shouted, "Sell it back, boy." The family jumped. Turner stood abruptly, his shadow stretching across the room. His jaw was steel now. I'll deal with them. He walked to the door, threw it open, and stepped onto the porch. The street was crowded now, neighbors, strangers, eyes burning with questions and greed. Turner raised his voice, steady and commanding. Yes, I gave this family a house. Yes, I gave it freely. And no, you will not take it from them. They've earned dignity you cannot measure in coin. If you have a problem, bring it to me. The crowd shifted, uneasy. Whispers rippled. No one dared step forward. The boy watched from inside, his heart racing. For the first time, Turner wasn't just a man of wealth. He was a shield. But deep down, the boy knew this shield wouldn't last forever, because when the powerful give something away, the world doesn't forget or forgive. Turner has revealed his guilt and defended the boys. Family before the entire neighborhood, but whispers of anger hint that greater challenges are still on the horizon. The street was still. Tense the night, Turner defended them. Neighbors scattered like shadows, but their whispers didn't fade. They slithered through the alleys, into workplaces, into bars and markets. By morning, the story wasn't just local gossip, it had spread across the city. Turner gave away a house. To a poor black boy. Why? What's he hiding? The boy heard fragments everywhere. Men with newspapers folded under their arms muttered in corners. Women at the well exchanged knowing looks. Even school children pointed, their voices sharp. By noon, reporters came. Flashbulbs popped outside their door. Questions flew like arrows. Why you? What did Turner promise? Are you his secret heir? The boy's mother shielded him, her voice trembling but firm. We owe no one answers. Please leave us be. But the storm was only beginning. Inside Turner's world, the glass towers, the polished boardrooms, the empire he had built, cracks began to show. Investors panicked. Shareholders demanded explanations. Why would the city's most ruthless tycoon suddenly give property away? Is he guilty of something? Is it hush money? Is Turner collapsing? Turner stood in his office, staring out the window at the skyline he once ruled. His reflection in the glass looked older, heavier. His secretary rushed in, papers in hand. Sir, the press won't stop. Stock prices are falling. Your partners want a meeting immediately. He closed his eyes. He knew this was coming. The boy's act of kindness had exposed something far bigger than hunger. It had revealed the emptiness of his own power. Back in the boy's home, the family sat together. The envelope and the heavy key still on the table. "Mama," the boy whispered, "what if Turner loses everything because of us?" His mother smoothed his hair gently. "No, son. He's losing because of himself. His greed built his empire. His guilt is breaking it. You're just the mirror that showed him who he really was." The boy stayed quiet, his heart heavy. He didn't want anyone ruined. All he had ever wanted was food on the table, safety for his sister, and peace for his mother. Days passed. The city buzzed with chaos. Turner's face was splashed across headlines. "Tycoon under fire. The gift that broke the empire. Who is the boy?" Then came the night no one expected. The boy awoke to another knock, this one softer, weaker, almost defeated. He opened the door and saw Turner again. But he was different. His suit was wrinkled. His eyes, once sharp, were sunken. He looked like a man carrying the weight of an entire empire on his back. "May I sit?" Turner asked. The boy nodded. Inside, Turner placed a folded newspaper on the table. The headline screamed, "Turner Industries collapses." The mother gasped. "It's over?" Turner nodded slowly. "They've stripped me of my titles. My board forced me out. Everything I built, gone." The boy swallowed hard. "Because of us?" Turner looked at him, his eyes glassy but sincere. "No, because of me. You were just the spark. The world saw a boy with nothing give more than I ever did with millions. That truth, it spread like fire, and my empire couldn't stand against it." Silence filled the room. The candle flickered. The boy leaned forward. "So what will you do now?" For the first time, Turner smiled a small, tired smile. "I'll start again. Not as a tycoon. Not as Turner the Untouchable. Just as a man who owes a debt to the world. Maybe I can spend what's left of my days repaying it." The mother studied him, her voice steady. "Then let this house be your first true legacy. Not of guilt. Not of wealth. But of change." Turner nodded. His hand trembled as he placed the deed fully into the boy's hands. "It's yours now. No questions. No shadows. No strings." When Turner left, the boy stepped outside. The street was quiet. Neighbors peeked from windows, still suspicious, still curious. But the boy didn't shrink back this time. He held the key high, his small frame standing tall in the glow of the fading sun. "This house is ours," he said softly, more to himself than anyone else. Not because of pity, not because of wealth, but because dignity has power. His mother's arm wrapped around him. His sister clutched his hand. Together they walked inside. The whispers would continue. The jealousy wouldn't disappear overnight. But something stronger now lived within those walls. Hope. And miles away, in a darkened apartment far smaller than his old mansion, Turner sat alone, staring at his reflection in a cracked mirror. For the first time in decades, he didn't see a tycoon. He saw a man stripped bare, humbled, but perhaps finally free. Closing scene, cinematic. The camera would linger on two images. The boy, clutching the heavy key, his face calm and strong. In the shadows, no longer powerful, but no longer blind. The arrogant had collapsed. The dignified had risen, and the quiet revolution of a single act of kindness had changed everything. This story isn't about wealth. It's not even about Turner's fall. It's about the truth that dignity, compassion, and quiet strength can shake empires. When arrogance crumbles, it's not money that remains, it's humanity.